First Age of Empires is a curious case. Upon its release, it was the strategy game to play, having no peer amongst its real-time strategy brethren at the time. Beating Blizzard's StarCraft to the punch by releasing 5.5 months earlier. And visually outshining Westwood's Tiberium Dawn and Red Alert. Of course, Warcraft 2 did not fare in the visual department any better. This game was unprecedented. Easy to pick up, collect resources, build, upgrade, and destroy kind of an ordeal. It even was mechanically ahead of its time. Age of Empires gameplay template can clearly be seen copied in StarCraft games and Warcraft 3. What is better, it was historically based game, telling stories of the past, best way this game could. They really could not go wrong with this direction. During this time, good storytelling was missing from games, especially from thriving real-time strategy games of that. Story was viewed as a filler that did not even have to make any sense, and everyone slapped most generic fantasy or futuristic story with good side and a bad one. This left you unsatisfied every time. When I heard Microsoft is going to make a remake of the game, I knew at some point I will have to try it out. Though when they said it will be Windows 10 exclusive, I backtracked from ever buying it. Since Windows 10 is a mess, and do not let anyone else tell you otherwise. Also, it is Microsoft Store exclusive. So yeah, I guess this game will be exclusively unpopular because of these moves. Luckily, my friend borrowed me hard disk with the game on it, and dreaded Windows 10. So let's get to it. Right off the bat, by reading changelogs, you can tell it is not just some graphical overhaul. You can see that they moved some stats around, and even removed certain units from selected civilizations for PvP balancing reasons. In a similar vein to the Age of Empires 2 HD edition. Though, there are no new expansions. Just the ones game had back in its heyday. Being done by the same guys who made HD remake of the second game, I was worried by stability issues, lack of display customization, no LAN support, frequent FPS drops and crashes. As Age of Empires 2 HD is somewhat of a failure due to them pushing its old engine to the limits instead of making a new one to run the game on. Seriously, how did community accept such flawed monetized product is beyond me. Even connection with other players online on Steam is worse than original had back in its day. Well, I guess you get them new civilizations. But seems like this time around they decided to make it properly. It is stable and you can select resolution you want to play on. LAN support was not left out. This especially made me happy, as you can go outside of Xbox Live network to play this game. Campaign did get a voice narrator who conveys story to you, and at the end of each mission, depending on whenever you won or lost, he will give you a few specific lines as well. Really nice touch. One that fits this game like a glove. There are also hints in campaign menu that try to help you with the mission. Layouts of the missions are the same as original, but they added new AI behavior into it, particularly AI willingness to target villagers at any cost. Overall, campaign is not really that hard. Most of it is just a cheese fest on AI part at the start. Every enemy is programmed to attack you early on within 30 seconds into the game, when you have no chance of building up the army. This will usually spell defeat first time around. After that, you will just wall in and gather resources. Same goes with map exploration missions, where you start with few villagers and you have to find a good place to set up your town center. It is purely dependent on where you place your town center for maximum gain. First time around, due to shroud on the map, you might get destroyed. Next time, you know exactly where to settle and where you can find gold, stone, and whatever else you need. As you can figure it out by now, campaign did not age all too well. This is especially compounded by population limit of 50 in earlier missions that goes far too long for campaign. This means that even though you are on your way to victory within 5 to 10 minutes into the game, it will still go on for an hour till you meet your objectives. When it comes to player versus player, this game starts to show its cracks, and you come to the realization why most players of the series are playing Age of Empires 2. For starters, cavalry has no real counter in this game, and deals extra damage against foot soldiers, archers, and villagers. Yes, some civilizations get camel that deals extra damage against early cavalry, but when you upgrade your cavalry, it dominates even camels. When facing civilization that can build cavalry, it will build it for sure. All your hopes lies within walling off every game. Once they get near your villagers, it is pretty much all over for you. In Age of Empires 2, they addressed this issue by giving you loom for extra HP on your villagers, ability to garrison your town center, and most importantly, giving you cheap spearman line that deals extra damage against cavalry. One thing that caught me off guard were slingers that were added in Rome expansion. They look like pushovers, but they serve two purposes very well. Firstly, they totally shred defensive towers. Like it is not even funny how hard they can tear them down, while taking next to no damage. Thus, tower pushing is not really a viable strategy. Secondly, they counter archers. They are akin to skirmishers from Age of Empires 2. Sadly, catapult does not function as mangonel and shoots a single slow-moving projectile. Similar story goes with Scorpion. In here, it does not have ability to penetrate multiple units. Siege in the first game was meant exclusively to take down buildings, in similar vein to Trebuchet, not to decimate groups of enemies closely packed together. This game has its gameplay benefits as well. You can end player versus player matches far more quickly than you would in Age of Empires 2. Units and buildings have much less HP, while attacks done by units are considerable. One good rush on player's economy and it's all over. Villagers have nowhere to hide or run to. Gold is not as important. Sometimes stone needed for slingers is far more important than gold in short-term games. Especially when some excellent units cost food and wood. Most notably Chariot Archer, being stronger than Cavalry Archer from second game and on par with archers. Monks are way more fun. They do convert some units really fast. Also, their conversion seems to be halved for every subsequent monk in the group. Identity crisis this remake has does not help either. For starters, they did added queue system for subsequent units being built from the production structures. On the other hand, they did not add automatic farm rebuilding like you get from Mill in Age of Empires 2. This has to be the most weirdest thing ever. You streamline one thing, but you refuse to do it for another. As you can imagine, this is one of the greatest annoyances in the game, when you simply cannot do something this basic. Biggest deal breaker though has to be the unit's pathfindings. It is atrocious. meaning that your units, including villagers, can get stacked, they can take longer roads instead of shorter ones, or flat out run aimlessly instead of going where they are supposed to. And forget about microing archers. There are no line formation and they bump into each other, so they end up moving in the snail space. Even in the first Age of Empires and other real-time strategy games of that time, this was considered as a huge problem. They at least have an excuse due to the limitations of hardware back in the day. Nowadays this problem should not exist at all. Well, I can conclude that I definitely not recommend this game. As a remake aimed at modern audiences, it fails to deliver. Broken pound fightings is really the main issue at play. It simply can lose you a game, most notably when your villagers get stacked all on their own while farming resources. Compare it to Age of Empires 2, this fails miserably. Couple that with Microsoft's genius decision to make this game Windows 10 exclusive, to promote Windows Store, and you have a disaster.